There's this assumption we all make about success in business. We tend to think of it like building muscle.
Right.
Like you get more customers, you hire more technicians, you add all these new service lines,
Yeah.
and naturally you just assume the business is getting stronger.
Oh, for sure. You look at the revenue graph, and it's pointing up and to the right.
Exactly. Up and to the right.
It creates this tremendous sense of momentum. I mean, when you are looking purely at the top-line numbers, the narrative is just that you're winning.
Yeah.
The market wants what you have, and you are delivering.
But then you actually go down to the floor. You talk to the people running the day-to-day operations, like the dispatchers, the mid-level managers, the frontline workers.
And they look like they're drowning.
Yes, they're completely drowning. It's this massive, incredibly common paradox. Why is it that when a business actually succeeds and grows, it gets significantly harder to manage?
It's a great question.
Suddenly, that beautiful upward revenue graph feels less like muscle and, a lot more like gravity. It just becomes this crushing weight, pulling everything down into absolute chaos.
That gravity analogy, it really captures the reality perfectly.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the actual physical work being done,
Like repairing something.
yeah, let's say a field technician repairing an industrial HVAC unit, or maybe installing a really complex piece of medical equipment, that specific technical task hasn't changed at all.
Right. The wrench turns the same way.
Exactly. The technical difficulty of the job itself is exactly the same today as it was on day one of the business.
So what's actually breaking?
Breaks down under that gravity is the management of the work. It's this invisible framework of how that work actually moves through the organization.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if growth creates this crushing gravity, how do we actually fix it before the whole thing just collapses?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is, and that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are looking at a brilliantly detailed white paper by Dusk, FSM.
It's a really thorough piece of work.
It really is. It's titled, Why Growth Makes Field Service Harder to Manage, the Trace Framework for Scalable Workflow-First Operations.
Quite a mouthful, but incredibly relevant.
Definitely. And the goal here is to help you, the listener, whether you're, actively scaling a massive field service operation, or maybe just managing a small local team, or honestly, even if you're just fascinated by the hidden mechanics of how successful businesses actually run.
Because they apply everywhere.
Exactly. We are going to explore why growth feels like drowning. And more importantly, we're going to break down how to fix your operations before you just blindly throw new software at the problem.
Which is, throwing software at the problem is almost always the standard knee-jerk reaction.
Oh, 100%.
When something feels broken and chaotic, leadership tends to just buy an app, hoping it acts as this magic bandage.
Like, oh, we bought the premium tier, we're saved.
Right. But before we prescribe the cure, we really have to diagnose the exact illness. To fix a scaling business, you first have to understand what is actually breaking down on a granular level.
So where does the white paper start with that?
Well, it introduces a core concept to explain this illness, and they call it the coordination tax of growth.
The coordination tax? It just sounds expensive.
Yeah.
And exhausting.
It is incredibly expensive, but the real danger is that it operates in hidden ways.
How so?
Well, growth naturally creates more handoffs between people, right? It creates more scattered information that needs to be synchronized across different departments.
Like billing needs to talk to dispatch, who needs to talk to the tech?
Exactly, and just a massively higher volume of micro-decisions. This tax appears in all those frustrating symptoms you probably see every single day.
Like what? What are the symptoms?
It's your dispatchers having to make 50 follow-up phone calls just to confirm site access. Or supervisors spending half their shift manually checking if someone completed their safety documentation. Or customers calling into the main line angry because they need manual updates on an arrival time.
It's basically all the stuff that surrounds the actual work. It's like a busy restaurant kitchen.
Okay, a great way to look at it.
The actual cooking, the operational work, putting the heat to the meat, that isn't the problem at all. The chefs know exactly how to cook the steak.
Right, the steak isn't the issue.
The problem is the waiters, the hostesses, the expediters crashing into each other near the swinging doors. They're trying to figure out who gets which plate, who ordered the side salad, and communicating that table forward desperately needs a water refill.
Exactly.
That coordination work is where all the chaos lives, not in the cooking itself.
What's really fascinating here is that exact distinction. The paper draws a hard line between operational work, which is creating the direct outcome your customer values,
The cooked steak.
right, the cook steak, and coordination work, which is synchronizing the people, the information, and the decisions required to actually deliver it.
But, I mean, some level of coordination is necessary, obviously. You can't run a business without it.
No, of course not. But the trap that most companies fall into is how they respond when that coordination inevitably gets messy as they grow.
They usually just add more managers, don't they?
They do, every single time.
Yeah.
The conventional corporate response is to add layers of oversight.
More meetings.
Oh, so many meetings. They demand more reports, they schedule mandatory alignment meetings, and they add more approvers to every single process.
Just slowing everything down.
Exactly. They are attempting to scale the business through supervision rather than scaling it through intelligent design.
Wow. Scaling through supervision instead of design. That hits hard.
Yeah, you end up with highly paid, highly stressed managers essentially acting as a human integration layer.
Yeah.
They're basically just manually patching the holes in the boat between disconnected activities.
Just bailing water out of a leaky ship. And this is where the software trap becomes so dangerous, right? The paper has this incredible quote. I wrote it down. Technology executes workflows. It does not design them.
That is the core truth right there.
If your current process relies on someone's individual memory or a really ambiguous, messy handoff between the sales team and the service team, automating that just reproduces your bad complexity.
It just does it way faster.
Right.
If a fundamentally flawed process is automated, you just achieve the wrong result with zero friction.
That's terrifying. The wrong result with zero friction.
It is. Technology is completely literal. It only executes exactly what it's told. Because of that reality, the white paper insists that we have to step back and map the operation manually first, before any code is written or any software is purchased.
Okay, so map it manually, and that brings us to the methodology they outlined to actually solve this coordination crisis. It's a 5-stage framework called TRACE, right?
Correct. The TRACE framework.
So instead of jumping straight to the tech, we start with the T in TRACE, which is target the outcome. On the surface, that sounds almost too basic, like just tell everyone to finish the job. But the paper emphasizes that a business has to define what the word complete actually means in a unified way.
Because complete means drastically different things to different departments in a siloed company.
Like, give me an example.
Well, to a field technician, complete might simply mean the machine is running and they are driving away.
Job done, I fixed it.
Exactly. But to the finance department, complete means all the photographic evidence is captured, the safety checklist is signed, the parts are accounted for in inventory, and the customer has been formally informed.
Oh, right, because they can't bill for it otherwise.
Precisely. Finance needs all of that so they can actually send the invoice without having to call the technician 3 days later to ask for clarification.
Which is that coordination tax again.
Exactly. So, targeting the outcome establishes a non-negotiable company-wide definition of success, eliminating those downstream bottlenecks right from the start.
Okay, so once we actually know what our target is, we have to figure out how we are currently missing it.
Right. That means dragging all that hidden, messy coordination work out into the light. Which brings us to the R in TRACE. Reveal the coordination layer.
This is where it gets uncomfortable for a lot of companies.
Yeah, because this isn't just about reading the official company manual, is it? You have to map the high-friction workflows from end to end, looking specifically for the unwritten rules.
You really have to get in the weeds. The paper breaks these activities down into 4 distinct categories, actually.
Right, let's go through those because this was super interesting.
It's a highly effective diagnostic tool. First, you have value work.
Which is the good stuff.
Exactly. This is the core operational work, the diagnosis, the repair, the actual technical expertise.
The cooking of the steak.
Yeah. Second is necessary coordination. These are things like checking site access or ensuring parts are available before a truck rolls.
Makes sense. You have to do that.
Right. That is entirely legitimate. But then we cross into the dangerous territory.
The coordination tax territory.
Exactly. The third category is oversight. Wait, like managers just checking in?
Yes. This involves requesting manual status updates or compiling daily progress reports. These activities exist purely to create a sense of reassurance, basically because the underlying process itself just isn't trusted.
Wow. So they're checking because they don't trust the system.
Precisely. And then the fourth, which is the most toxic category, is process gap activity.
Process gap activity? Like what?
This is the double data entry. Retyping information from a piece of paper into a digital system. or spending an hour chasing down a colleague on Slack just to figure out who actually owns a task.
Oh, I've been there.
We all have.
Yeah.
These actions exist entirely to compensate for bad workflow design.
I have to play devil's advocate for a second, though.
Okay, go for it.
Put yourself in the shoes of a frontline worker. If management suddenly comes in and starts mapping every single informal Slack message I send or every quick text I shoot to a buddy to get a part number.
It can feel invasive.
Yeah. Isn't that going to feel incredibly invasive? It sounds like extreme micromanagement.
It absolutely can feel that way if the intent isn't clearly communicated. But the goal here isn't to punish the worker or police their text messages.
So what is the goal?
Management shouldn't be looking at this to say, why are you wasting time texting?
Yeah.
The goal is to look in the mirror and ask, what design flaw in our system is forcing our team to send those texts in the first place?
Ah, so the text is a symptom of a broken system.
Exactly. You're looking for diagnostic patterns in the pain. For instance, if you observe repeated manual reminders being sent, it tells you that you have a weak trigger in your workflow.
Got it.
If there are constant manual status requests, the workflow isn't signaling progress automatically. If there are extra managerial approvals everywhere, well, your company policies are undefined.
It's about finding out why they are forced to work around the system, so you can build a system that actually supports them. It's really meant to reduce their burnout.
Precisely. And to ensure it doesn't turn into micromanagement, the framework provides a strict rule of 3 when analyzing this revealed coordination layer.
Okay, rule of 3. Let's hear it.
First, ask if the activity can simply be removed. Like, is it just an inherited workaround from 5 years ago that nobody actually needs anymore?
A lot of those floating around in corporate America.
Oh, tons. Now, if it can't be removed, ask if it can be resolved by design. For example, simply clarifying who owns the task in the first place.
And the third.
Only after those 2 options are totally exhausted do you ask how it should be executed or automated.
Okay, so automation is literally the very last question you ask. I love that discipline.
It's crucial.
So we've targeted the true outcome, we've revealed the messy, hidden coordination layer, and we've, stopped blaming the workers for our bad processes.
Right.
Now we can't just leave that mess on the table. We have to actually rebuild the foundation so it doesn't happen again. And that is the A in TRACE. Architect for scale.
Because you cannot scale supervision, as we established earlier.
Yeah.
So you must design an architecture that scales naturally.
How do you even do that?
The secret here is that architecture is decided in the transitions. It's all about the handoffs between stages of work.
The swinging doors of the kitchen.
Exactly. At every single handoff, the workflow must explicitly define 4 elements: ownership, trigger, information, and the exception path.
Let's break those down so we really understand the mechanics here. Start with ownership.
Ownership is about absolute clarity. Who is explicitly accountable for this specific stage? No shared responsibility, just one clear owner.
Okay, and trigger.
The trigger defines the exact event that starts the next action. Not a vague feeling, but a concrete system signal.
Makes sense. Information.
Information dictates what specific data must be present for this new stage to succeed.
Like the safety checklist we talked about.
Exactly. And finally, the exception path. This defines what happens when things inevitably go wrong.
That exception path seems like the linchpin of the whole thing. The paper talks about shifting management from a model of universal oversight to exception-based attention.
It's a huge mindset shift.
The idea is that the vast majority of jobs, like 90% of them, should just flow down a standard predictable path without a manager ever needing to look at them.
The overarching goal is that managers stop checking all the healthy work just to find the sick work.
Wow, that's a great way to phrase it.
Instead, the workflow is architected to surface only the exceptions early on. If a part is missing, the system flags it immediately, routing it to an exception path, rather than a manager finding out 3 days later when the customer calls to complain.
It's like a jazz band.
A jazz band.
Yeah, think about it. In a great jazz band, you need a rock-solid, completely standardized rhythm section. The bass and the drums have to keep the exact same tempo, the exact same foundational structure.
Okay, I'm with you.
That's your safety checks, your data integrity, your standard handoffs. If that rhythm section is perfectly tight and reliable, then your frontline workers, like your soloists, can safely improvise.
Ah, I see where you're going.
They can use their deep professional judgment when local conditions on a job site demand it. You standardize the core so you can allow for controlled, safe variation at the edges.
That's a brilliant analogy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, That jazz band analogy highlights the true scalability principle of this entire white paper.
Which is?
An operation truly scales only when growth increases your productive capacity faster than it increases your demand for coordination.
Say that one more time. That's important.
It truly scales only when growth increases productive capacity faster than it increases the demand for coordination. If adding 10 new technicians requires you to also hire 3 new dispatchers and 2 new managers just to orchestrate the chaos, you aren't actually scaling, you are just swelling.
Swelling, yes. That is a painful but extremely accurate word for it. And this is exactly why the paper introduces the doubling test during this architecture phase, right?
Yeah, the doubling test is a fantastic mental exercise for leadership.
How does it work?
You look at your newly architected workflow and you ask a simple question. If the volume of this operation doubled in 2 years, what specific points of this workflow would break down?
That's a brutal question to ask yourself.
It is, but it's necessary. If your handoffs still require a manager to verbally confirm details, or if a single person is acting as the knowledge bottleneck, your architecture will fail the doubling test. It forces you to build for the future volume, not just today's convenience.
Okay, so we've got a clean, scalable architecture that passes the doubling test. Now, and only now, do we bring in the robots.
Now we bring in the tech.
We move to the C in trace. Choose the execution mode. This is where software finally enters the picture. The paper introduces the 3R execution model, which is basically a way to give your technology an actual job description.
And giving technology a clear job description is vital to ensure it stays in its lane and actually serves the architecture.
Right, so let's walk through this 3R model. It categorizes how work should be executed into rules, recommendations, and responsibility.
Let's start with rules.
This seems to be for the highly predictable, mundane stuff.
Exactly. Automating predictable work is where rules come in. The guiding principle is this. If a task shouldn't depend on human memory, use a rule.
Give me an example.
Updating a job status, triggering a follow-up task, or sending an appointment confirmation email to a customer. Let the software execute those rules every single time, flawlessly, in the background.
No more sticky notes on monitors.
Exactly. Then we step up to recommendations, which is where artificial intelligence enters the chat.
Right, AI, everyone's favorite buzzword right now.
But this is fascinating because the framework isn't suggesting we let AI run the entire company. It's using AI specifically for navigating complex variables.
Like scheduling, right. The paper talks about AI scheduling.
Yeah, take AI scheduling as the perfect example. An AI can look at a technician's specific skill set, current travel times, live traffic patterns, and overall workload balancing all at once. It compares massive amounts of data way faster than a human planner ever could.
It's just number crunching on a massive scale.
Right. It processes all those variables rapidly to offer the best possible route or schedule. But, and this is key, it only makes a recommendation. It does not make the final unalterable choice.
Okay, which brings us to the third R, which is responsibility.
And this is a vital boundary. Consequential judgment must remain human-led.
What qualifies as consequential judgment?
Assessing human empathy, conducting complex on-site safety assessments, evaluating unusual risks, or making heavy commercial commitments. These inherently belong to people.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's look at a practical scenario with that AI scheduling.
Okay.
So the AI is just providing a recommendation, but what if a human dispatcher is, overwhelmed, they blindly click accept on the AI's recommendation, and it turns out the AI optimized for drive time but totally ignored a VIP client's strict deadline.
That happens.
Right. And this results in the company missing a massive SLA, a service level agreement, meaning they get hit with heavy contractual financial penalties. Who actually takes the fall for that? The AI.
The human takes the fall every single time.
Really?
The source material is completely uncompromising on this mandate. AI is implemented to improve the speed and the quality of a decision, not to obscure accountability.
That's a great line.
The human operator must retain the authority to override the AI, and therefore they own the final decision where accountability matters. To sum up the 3R model, rules automate the mundane, recommendations assist with the complex, but responsibility always remains human.
I love that clarity. It keeps the human in the loop exactly where their judgment is most valuable and protects the business from runaway algorithms.
Exactly.
All right, so we've mapped the work, architected the flow, and decided what the tech should do. But how do you know if your organization is actually culturally and operationally ready to flip the switch and buy a heavy-duty platform like Dusk FSM? You can't just guess.
No, you absolutely cannot guess. Testing readiness is the only way to avoid a really costly failed implementation.
So how do we test it?
The paper provides a diagnostic tool for this called the Scale Readiness Model. It forces a business to look at their workflow and evaluate it across 5 specific criteria before automating.
Right, let's walk through how a business actually applies these criteria. It's an acronym, SCALE.
Let's look at the mechanics of it. The S stands for specific ownership.
We talked about this a bit with the architecture.
Yes. In practice, this means checking if it is explicitly clear to a system who owns every single step. If ownership is shared or vague, an automated system won't know who to route the task to, and the workflow will stall.
It'll just sit there in digital purgatory.
Exactly. The C's is consistent progression. You have to verify if routine work actually follows a defined path. If Bob does the job completely differently than Sarah, you can't automate it.
You can't automate chaos.
Right. The A is available information.
This one feels huge. Like, can people actually make decisions without constantly calling someone else to ask for data?
Exactly. If a tech has to dig through a messy email chain just to find a gate code, your information isn't available to the workflow.
Got it. What about the L?
The L is locate exceptions, which ties back to our architecture discussion. A business needs to ask themselves, does our system flag an anomaly immediately?
Or does it hide it?
Right. If a technician gets stuck on a site, does management find out through a live system alert, or do they only find out days later? You must be able to isolate anomalies early.
And the final one, E.
E is eliminate reliance on memory. Are the next activities triggered automatically by system rules, or are you relying on that sticky note on someone's monitor?
Right, the sticky note method. The paper actually scores these 5 elements out of 50. I found this really practical.
Like a great benchmark.
Yeah, so if you score a 40 to 50, you are in great shape. You have a solid, scalable design, and you are genuinely ready to automate. If you score 30 to 39, you are developing, meaning you need to simplify some ownership and triggers before proceeding.
But if you score under 30,
If you score under 30, the paper says it requires a total redesign before you even think about bringing in software.
because again, automating a score of 25 just gives you a highly efficient, rapidly executing chaotic mess. It will literally make your bad processes fail faster.
So what does this all mean for the listener? If you run this test and get a 25, I mean, that can feel incredibly defeating.
Oh, absolutely.
But the paper explicitly states an executive checkpoint here. A low score isn't a reason to give up, and it's certainly not a reason to delay improvement.
No, not at all.
It's actually just a map. It's a mirror showing you exactly which handoff is broken, completely removing the guesswork from your improvement strategy.
It replaces anxiety with a clear to-do list. And once you fix those specific broken handoffs, you finally reach the final stage of trace, the E, embed and evolve.
This is the moment.
This is the moment where you introduce the capabilities of a platform like Dusk FSM. But, and this is crucial, you aren't introducing them as random shiny features.
Right, you're not just playing with toys.
No, you're embedding them as deliberate enablers of the architecture you just painstakingly built.
Right, you don't just buy a forms feature. You use tools like, they call it Create Work by Prompt, and highly structured digital forms to ensure that perfectly accurate data is captured from the very start of a job.
Exactly. Completely eliminating the need for that process gap activity later on.
Right, the chasing down info on Slack.
You embed workflow automation to instantly trigger those standard tasks we talked about. You use Kanban views, those visual boards where you can see exactly where every single job sits in the pipeline.
Love a good Kanban board.
Right. They expose live progression, so managers don't ever have to call a tech for a status update. And you utilize deep integrations with systems like HubSpot or QuickBooks.
Oh, to keep everything aligned.
Yes, keeping your customer data and financial records perfectly aligned, eradicating double data entry entirely.
And the way you measure success for this whole transformation is totally different too. It's a massive mindset shift.
How do you mean?
Well, you don't measure success by running into a board meeting and saying, look, we created 50 automated rules in the software this week.
Oh yeah, counting rules is just measuring activity, which is a total vanity metric.
Exactly.
You measure actual success by looking at the reduction in waiting time between stages of work. You measure the sudden drop in customer status inquiries hitting your call center.
Fewer angry phone calls.
Always a good metric. You measure the reduction in rework. But most importantly, you measure the hours your supervisors get back in their day. Time they can use to actually coach and develop their teams, rather than just acting as highly paid, deeply burned out human checklists.
A highly paid human checklist. Man, that stings, but it is the emotional reality for so many middle managers right now.
It's the reality of the coordination tax. They're drowning in it.
Yeah.
A truly mature, well-designed operation actually makes routine work feel uneventful. That is the ultimate goal.
Uneventful.
Yes, the technology is present everywhere, like Dusk FSM seamlessly connecting field operations all the way through to the final billing. But the technology itself is never the center of the experience. It just hums reliably in the background, keeping the rhythm steady like that jazz band.
Uneventful, in the absolute best possible way.
Exactly.
Scaling successfully isn't about hiring an army of supervisors to check boxes, but it definitely isn't about slapping an AI band-aid onto a fundamentally broken process.
Could not agree more.
It's about taking the hard, unglamorous time to design a workflow where coordination is completely seamless. It's about building a system that allows humans to focus exclusively on their high-value expertise, the creative, empathetic, complex stuff that a computer simply can't do.
You are systematically removing the friction of coordination so the immense value of your operation can actually shine through.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to ask you, the listener, to really think about your own day-to-day reality as you go back to your desk or climb back into your truck or sit down in your next meeting. Take a hard look at your calendar.
That's a great challenge.
How much of your day is spent actually doing the high-value work you were hired to do versus just coordinating how to do the work? How much of your daily energy is consumed by paying the coordination tax?
It's a sobering thought. But this actually raises an important question about the future, too, building on what we've discussed today.
Where are we going with this?
Well, we talked about AI currently living in the recommendation stage for things like routing and scheduling. But if you extrapolate this trajectory, how long will it be before AI platforms can actively monitor a company's workflows in the background and autonomously highlight where new coordination taxes are forming?
Wait, really? Like AI diagnosing the company?
Exactly. Imagine an AI effectively doing the reveal stage of trace in real time, just pointing out hidden design flaws and bottlenecks before management even realizes they exist.
Oh, man. A system that autonomously tells you when your own process is starting to break down under the gravity of its own
It's
success?
not that far off.
That is a wild, exciting thought for the future of business operations. But until that day comes, we have to do the revealing ourselves.
Oh, you do?
We have to map the mud, clear the water, and consciously redesign the architecture. Because if you want to grow without being crushed by the gravity of your own success, you can't just keep blindly adding muscle. You have to build a much better skeleton.
Well said.
Thanks for exploring the depths with us today. We'll see you on the next deep dive.